Firstly, the whole idea of declawing, I needed to come to grips with. I was not aware of declawing as a medical procedure, although I assumed that vets have, number one, the knowledge and ability and technology to do such a thing as a declawing as you would an amputation. So I reached out. First thing I did was called my mother, and I said, "Mom, what do we do in Ireland when a cat needs declawing? How do vets respond?" And she said, "Why would anyone want to declaw a cat?" And it got me thinking, oh my God, have we created a market for what I would personally consider a very painful surgery?
A lot of veterinarians still continue to offer coupons or promote declawing, mainly, I think, not for the cat's sake, but as a revenue source.
But declawing does not belong in a kitten package. We're supposed to do no harm, and I can't think of anything that's more harmful, especially to a young animal that's going to grow up living that way their whole life.
At the end of the day, I would think about everything that I had done and whether or not it had benefited my patients. And frankly, there were times, especially around declawing, when I really wasn't comfortable with what I had done. It was not in the interest of my patient.
In opposition to this group, you have veterinary organizations with decades of proven trustworthiness that are opposed to the declaw ban. They are and are not limited to the American Veterinary Medical Association, California Veterinary Medical Association, and Southern California Veterinary Medical Association. Can they all be wrong?
As a veterinarian, I've worked on 6 continents, and it's absolutely great to work on animals in the wild, but a lot of my patients are actually captive animals. In fact, they're actors. So I named my business Vet to the Real Stars because I really do believe that the animals are the stars.
He did a commercial called Budweiser Frisbee Dog. He was on a TV show called Heroes for 4 or 5 years. He played a character called Mr. Muggles.
Enough about Mr. Muggles. What everybody else do today.
He's pretty talented. Let's just look at his fur. Hi, Lestat. Oh yeah, he looks so much better.
Yeah, he looks fine.
Oh, honey, it's all right.
My goodness.
She's a little bit of a drama queen.
People ask me where my office is, and that's just it. I don't have an office. I am a mobile vet. I drive to see my patients. I think it's easier on them if I come to them, and sometimes I have to drive hundreds of miles. The famous tiger from the movie The Hangover is my patient, and even though she's 8 years old, she still likes to suck on a bottle. Oh, you're nice. You are the neatest eater I've ever met. Oh, what's going on? Can I see that eye? It's just mostly crust. I bet you it's just allergies. What's fantastic about being a veterinarian is that every day is different, and I can work on any animal from an elephant to a bear to an alligator, and they're all so special and really intriguing to me. I grew up in Malibu, California, and I'm one of 4 children, and both my parents are medical doctors. I felt the pressure in my family to do something with medicine, but I didn't want to work on humans. I wanted to work on all these different animals, and I felt that there was nothing more important that I could do than to help endangered species by getting a veterinary degree. When I began to be known in Hollywood as an exotic animal veterinarian, I got more and more work. But I was also a veterinarian for animals who had wound up in sanctuaries or on animal compounds. Many of them are illegal pets who were confiscated and they were declawed and crippled.
That's just from declawing, huh?
When I started working in all these sanctuaries, I would ask, why are all these cats declawed? And the answer across the board was, because it supposedly makes them safer to work with. When I talked to other veterinarians about declawing, they said, well, that's just what happens. They get crippled. These animals get crippled. That's just what happens when you declaw them. One day, I was walking through the dirt roads of the compound, and one of the keepers came up to me and said that a declawed mountain lion had died. I remember having this ambivalence about him dying and thinking, maybe now he's free and he doesn't have to feel that pain anymore. Within a week, 2 other mountain lions died. Both of them had been suffering from being declawed, and one of them was so crippled he was basically walking on his elbows. Like this. In fact, I think he died because he couldn't get to his water, and he died of renal failure. And there was nothing that you can do about that. You can't walk. Walk, Phoenix. I just kind of assumed that it was so painful because you cut off their toes, but I didn't realize that it was so painful because they're dealing with the infection or the anatomical changes that you've caused in those paws. And I remember looking at those toes and they were swollen, so big, and I thought, what is that? And I slid it open and this pus poured out of it. They actually have pus in their blood, and it's affecting their kidneys, their liver, and their heart. And I could see that it was nail. It was his claws, growing back in little tiny pieces from fragments of bone, and they were growing nail under his skin. This is nail regrowing, and it's pus. It's surrounding all these. You can see it's like looks like a starburst, like a galaxy. It's so awful to think that this is what he was suffering with. And I thought, I'm going to do something about this. This is wrong that they are suffering like this. I was going to take those animals, my patients, and at the very least, I was going to take away the pus and the nail regrowth under the skin. So I went to one veterinary surgeon and I asked him what he thought of the plan of reattaching the tendons, giving the cat the ability to flex and extend the paws like a normal cat. Otherwise, the cat sits back on the wrists, avoiding pressure on the toes, and this causes arthritis in the wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders. There was one cat I was particularly concerned about. His name is Drifter, and he's a 550-pound tiger, but he's only 3.5 years old, and he's already having trouble walking. No one has ever done this surgery before, but I've got to do something for him. He's just a baby, and he's already having trouble walking. It's so upsetting to see Drifter and have him be so mad at me, but he doesn't know I'm trying to help him. But I am. I'm trying to help him.
1, 2, 3.
Cat's eyes just went.
It's a mess.
What's much more involved is finding that deep digital flexor tendon and attaching it to the extensor tendon. That's hard. That's, microsurgery. But what was shocking was the amount of nail that was growing under his skin. And I used to call it a pebble in the shoe, but this was really like Gibraltar. Can't even fathom what that was like for him to have to walk on that. Within a day or two, he was walking and playing, and It was amazing to see this change in the cat. I can't believe it. It worked. See how he's using his foot? His whole life is going to change. It worked. His paws are shorter. We didn't put the bone back in them, but he has function in them. Look at him scratch it.
Yeah. What's really neat is his toes are pulling real strong as if he had hooks.
And he's clearly not in pain anymore.
Not in pain? Does it not look like pain? Oh, God. I thought, my God, I'm going to do this on every single cat here. I'm going to repair their paws. And the first 8 cats I paid for because I was just so ecstatic to see them change. I mean, they've changed so dramatically. And I'm doing the very best I can for these animals, and I'm paying them back for what has been taken from them. I'm giving them back their lives. And isn't it amazing how veterinary medicine can be so different, how veterinary medicine took their claws and veterinary medicine can restore their dignity and their comfort. Oh. But I began to realize the numbers, and there were people contacting me from all over the country saying, we have 20 cats who need their paws repaired, and we have 40 cats, and we have 60 cats. There were thousands of big cats who needed their paws repaired. I realized there was no way I was going to be able to do this all by myself. So I started a nonprofit. I called it the Paw Project, and donations started coming in from all over the world. With so many thousands of big cats who need their paws repaired, I realized there must be millions of domestic cats, the ones who live in our homes, who need their paws repaired. Declawing is not a weight issue. A 10-pound cat can suffer from declawing as much as a 100-pound cougar. It's an amputation. No matter what size animal you are, you need to have your toes, and by amputating them, there's going to be problems.
Leonardo da Vinci, the smallest feline, is a masterpiece. And this is a masterpiece, and here we are. We just maimed this masterpiece.
The way that a cat is and the beauty that's in a cat, they're like no other animal. And they have a sense of self, and they have a sense of majesty, I guess it is. And they come in all different personalities, and they have what they like, and they have what they don't like, and they make the most glorious sound. I think one of the most marvelous things about the cat is the claws.
It is so important to them. It's intrinsic to who they are. It's part of what I call the raw cat. When they walk up to you and they scratch next to you, both with scent and with sight, they're claiming you. I belong to you. You belong to me. It's a compliment.
They use them to grasp things, to play, to groom, to stretch. They have this marvelous thing of kneading that's so luxurious to watch. Everybody knows what it is, and it's part of what a cat is. They need them to climb and for balance, and most importantly, they need them for defense. The human hand and the cat paw are very similar in that we both have 3 bones. The major difference is that in our hands, the nail grows from the skin, whereas in the cat paw, the nail grows from the 3rd phalanx. It grows from the bone. This is a nail from a lion, and it's the exact same anatomy as from a domestic cat. It's just easier to see, and you can see that the nail is actually growing directly from the bone. The most common way of declawing a cat is to use what's called Resco nail clippers, and these were actually invented just to trim the nails on a dog or cat, but they're used to declaw a cat by slipping the entire nail and the last bone in the cat's toe through the guillotine and snipping it off. Now, that would be the equivalent of taking these cigar cutters and slipping my finger through and cutting this whole last bone off. Other methods include using a laser, and while the laser sounds like a 21st century medicine, it's actually just the same as using a scalpel. It's an amputation of the last bone in the cat's toe.
The laser, it does cut, and you can see it does make that cut, and it does it by vaporizing.
That's probably as cruel or more so than the more manual declaw. The vet may have spent many thousands of dollars on this piece of equipment and then would want to do the declaws to make up that money.
Veterinarians can make upwards of $1,000 an hour declawing cats, and I received a letter from a veterinarian who claims to be making $75,000 or more a year declawing cats. And so he says he's not going to give it up. In fact, he says he recommends it for every single cat who comes through his doors. In an attempt to offer a way to stop a cat from clawing furniture but yet not declawing the cat, there's another surgery that's offered, and it's called tendinectomy. And what it is it's actually slicing the tendons on the bottom part of the cat's paw so that the nails are floppy, the toes don't work. And what happens is that the cat can no longer hone the nails, and they begin to grow, and they grow all the way around and into the pad, and that causes the cat to have an infection. So it very often ends up that the cat has not only been tendinectomized, but then it has to be declawed. The other problem with tendinectomy is in order to avoid the claws growing and penetrating the pad, the owner has to clip the nails every 2 weeks. And if the owner can clip the nails every 2 weeks, then why do you need the tendinectomy surgery at all?
We were taught in vet school that it was a surgical procedure and you weren't to question it. And those who did were sort of looked at as animal communists. And but we didn't see ourselves as animal Nazis. I just knew that you do the right thing, you do what you're told. So I graduated vet school planning to do them.
It's going to take 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes per one paw. Once you start doing everything, then you turn around and get doing the other one, time's passing, another 4 minutes on that. Then you're going to go through and you'll do the placement of the surgical adhesive in the socket, each one going at your time. Surgical adhesive has different times of how long it takes for it to work. I used one that was only a 2-second, very short acting. Others you have to hold for 5 to 8 seconds. I found that to be a total drag, that I had to hold each toe 5 to 8 seconds and then go on to the next one. I got 10 of them to do. And the technicians go out and they do a nice compression bandage to place on the kitty. I would figure if I had 2 declaws at the end of the day, I was looking at a half hour's worth of work.
When I started declawing cats, I felt it was an acceptable means of altering undesirable behavior. And so the procedure was taken very lightly. And I felt that it was a very simple procedure to do and should be done in every cat that came into the practice.
A lot of veterinarians say, well, while we're spaying her, why don't we declaw her too? It's just like driving through McDonald's and having the kid ask you, would you like fries with that? Would you like a declaw with that?
I was 19 years old. I was stupid, I was young, I was egocentric, and I made a really poor decision. But that decision not only impacted me and my cat, but it's something I'm going to live with forever. If that were a law that I couldn't do it, it wouldn't even be an option. I mean, it wouldn't even be in the mindset that that's something to even think about. Imagine somebody takes your feet that you walk on every day and cuts your toes and then say, oh yeah, have a nice life. I paid the money and they said, come get him tomorrow morning. And that was it.
I remember watching them and just thinking, this doesn't seem right.
They just said that if I got the claws removed, then I wouldn't have that problem anymore, and it would totally save my furniture.
Declaw seemed to be like, well, that's what you do.
When I found out what declawing really was, basically I was horrified, and I felt sick because I had done that to my cat. It's just so gruesome what they do and the side effects.
It was seriously the worst decision I've ever made in my entire life.
It's not on the forefront of animal cruelty, but it's such an injustice in the fact that it's their doctors doing it to them. And it's even worse because their doctors aren't telling what they're doing. These are animals who sleep in our beds, who are our best friends, who are always there for us. And we want what's best for them. How can we let such an injustice happen to them?
We would bandage them, big white bandages, very tightly, and put the cats, when we were finished, in a little holding cage. They couldn't really see, their eyes were dilated, and they would be shaking their paws and, crying and yowling and freaking out, sometimes flipping backwards and upside down inside the cages, and it was really horrible. It was very distressing.
I picked him up the next morning. There was stitches in his hand. There wasn't a sheet saying what to do or what not to do. He was obviously uncomfortable. I knew as soon as I saw him, I knew it was a bad decision. I knew it.
The long-term result is you end up with a cat with arthritis, pain, inflammation, infection, and this poor cat can't walk.
It is such an inhumane, barbaric practice. I want to know why a veterinarian didn't say to me, why are you going to get your cat declawed? There's other things you can do besides amputating part of his hands that he's supposed to walk on for the rest of his life.
When I began to see how these cats recovered from anesthesia and that they were not without pain, when I began to see the blood-soaked dressings that we had to change and rewrap and wrap very tightly in the severe pain which that caused, and just to see the stress in these animals and what I was doing to them began to really have an effect on me.
In some of these pictures, you can see the cat squinting. That's recognized by vets usually as a sign of pain in cats. The owners would never be permitted to see cages looking like this. And I think that's exactly what they should see. It's no different than thousands of hospitals all across the country. Any practice that declaws, I would have been able to get the same type of pictures. There's a saying that all that's needed for evil to prevail in the world is for good people to do nothing. And I believe declawing is evil.
The more I looked into declawing and the more I saw what was happening to these poor animals, I began to wonder, who's condoning this?
My name is Dr. Sia Johnson, and I'm a veterinarian in the AVMA's Animal Welfare Division. More than 81 million cats currently live in American homes and are great companions. Unfortunately, their claws can also cause damage that can be distressing or even harmful to otherwise doting owners. Today I am joined by Dr. Colleen Currigan of the Cat Hospital of Chicago. Dr. Currigan is going to walk us through surgical declaw at her hospital.
Surgical declawing is the removal of each of the cat's claws, along with phalanx 3, the bone to which the claw is attached. Cats can be safely declawed using different methods, but no matter which method of declawing is used, aggressive pain management is necessary.
Some people believe that declawing your cat will lead to behavioral abnormalities, such as inappropriate elimination or biting. However, currently available scientific evidence does not support this claim.
The strange thing about the AVMA's position statement on declawing is that it says that there's no scientific evidence that declawed cats have any more behavioral problems than non-declawed cats. That's really peculiar because they must not be reading the journal that they publish. The study out of Cornell said 33%, 1 in 3 declawed cats will develop a behavior problem. Isn't that scientific evidence?
The AVMA's claim that declawing causes no behavioral differences is actually posing serious consumer fraud issues and serious issues in regards to professionalism and veterinarian ethics, because there is evidence, there's lots of evidence, that declawed cats have problems, and when they're telling the public something else, that's dangerous. This is not only putting cats at risk, it's putting the public at risk.
By declawing the cat, the veterinarian is now inadvertently subjecting the people or the property to a far worse fate than just the scratching would have been.
All the behavior problems, because he was scratching my used couch that my 19-year-old punk self didn't want him scratching, they multiplied through the roof.
They've been robbed of their primary defense, and this makes them more likely to bite.
I probably get, I would say, 800 to 1,000 calls a month. And I would say a high percent of those are declawed relinquishments, not using the litter box or an aggressive biting.
It hurts for the declawed cat to dig in the litter, and that's why they start to use the couch or the rug or something else instead of the litter box.
When I first graduated from school, I thought, as I think many other veterinarians think, that by declawing a cat, I'm keeping it in that home, that perhaps the person would not have otherwise gotten a cat. So in effect, I felt like I was saving a life by performing a declaw. After 10 years of private practice and being at the shelter for 4 years now, I really have come to feel differently. Based on what I see every day in this shelter, I don't feel like declawing is saving lives.
We see a lot more declawed cats being surrendered into the shelter system that have litter box or aggression problems than we see cats being surrendered for scratching furniture.
Cats who are declawed lose their primary defense mechanism and they resort to biting. And anytime you've got cat biting in the equation, it becomes really, a concern for people who have both compromised immune systems or healthy systems. You don't want to encourage a cat to be involved in biting. The Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta puts out a weekly report, and specifically in that report it says cat declawing is not recommended. I am one of 4 elected officials in the United States that's living with HIV, and I've been HIV positive for a very long time. And I think the reason that that's relevant in this debate is often we hear from people on the other side of this issue about the impact on immunocompromised individuals, and it really is a false argument.
There'd be many fewer animals in shelters if we banned declawing of all cats in the country.
The veterinarians don't see the shelter workers having to euthanize declawed cats for behavior problems.
It's a lot easier on your kitty to declaw it when it's probably 10 weeks old and weighs 2 pounds at least.
We want to declaw as young as possible.
It's so much easier to do when they're young. You can get them before they've had a chance to tear up your good new furniture.
I think we need to recognize that most cats, it is a natural behavior to claw things. So if we take care of that early, just like we do spaying or neutering, doing it at a young age, there are some people that think that they'll leave the back claws on so that their cat will have some defense when it goes outside. Cats are not able to karate kick and defend themselves at all or climb a tree with their back claws.
Ever since I first saw my first declaw when I got out of school, and this little 8-week-old cat came in, they declawed all 4 feet. And it comes back to the hospital 4 or 5 months of age, and it's biting and urinating all over the house, and the people threw it outside. And then it comes all bit up from being attacked by other cats, and so they end up putting the cat to sleep. So, I mean, this is just a vicious cycle.
I don't mean to pick on my classmate, Dr. Colleran, but she writes this article that's supposed to be a balanced discussion, and it's simply a pro-declawing article, and she says, with the proper guidance and education, some clients might wish to have their cats declawed. My question is, what's the education? What are you telling people? That it hurts and it doesn't do them any good, but we're going to educate you on how to get this done.
Since the AVMA or any of the other big veterinary groups aren't doing anything to stop this, the only way that I can see to stop it is to make it illegal. And that made me remember the quote from the great Martin Luther King that says, "Laws can't change the heart, but they can restrain the heartless." And that's when I decided it has to be illegal. The only way to stop these animals from being declawed is to make it illegal.
It was Dr. Jennifer Conrad, a veterinarian in Santa Monica, who first came and talked to my deputy, Hernan Molina, at West Hollywood City Hall. And I really hadn't thought much about the idea at all. And when Hernan first approached me, I thought, okay, well, we could probably just do that on consent. I don't think it'll be controversial.
He heard about it and he understood. He himself had declawed one time an animal without really knowing what declawing was about. He was really mortified that he had done that.
I'm asking my colleagues tonight to join me in becoming the first city in the United States to adopt a proposed ban on animal declawing, namely cats.
We had very few emails in opposition. Most people were supportive.
Animals cannot speak for themselves. You know, they are defenseless, and it really requires human beings, you know, to sort of step up to the plate and protect them from us.
I'm the first one to confess that over the years, the cats that I have owned, I've always had declawed. And the reason I had them declawed is I didn't know any better. I didn't understand the procedure. And with that time, I'd ask that we open the public testimony.
Let's start with our city and set a wonderful precedent for anti-cruelty.
Imagine a future where the rights and needs of our companion animals are respected like the rights and needs of our human residents.
There are many other ways to take care of your furniture without declawing the cat. So let's see that this goes through, gentlemen. We will be the forerunners of this.
I would ask that Dr. Conrad, Jennifer Conrad, if she could come up.
Above all, do no harm. That is the oath that I take as a veterinarian. And as a veterinarian, it is my duty to protect animals and to keep them healthy and happy. Declawing is an unnecessary mutilation. It's an amputation. It does no good for the animal. So thank you for considering this ban. It's one small step for a city, and it's one big step for animal kind.
To oppose the item, you may make comments during public comments.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Dr. Peter Weinstein. I'm from the city of Irvine.
My stomach dropped to see the head of the California Veterinary Medical Association show up.
I am President-elect of the California Veterinary Medical Association. The CVMA represents over 4,800 veterinarians in the state of California and is strongly opposed to this ordinance before your council to ban cat declawing. Our members here in West Hollywood need to be able to continue to consult with their clients and explore all of the possible alternatives. If declawing is the only available option and provides an opportunity for a family to keep their cat in their home, then the procedure should be kept legal and performed in the best interest of the cat. It is hard for me to sit back and watch the cat-owning public be stripped of their choices, especially when it comes to providing the best medical care possible for their household companions.
I believe Mr. Baxter, who's the attorney representing the veterinarians, come down from Sacramento.
The correctness or incorrectness of these procedures is in fact irrelevant to this issue from my point of view. That might not be a popular view, but that's the way it is.
It was just an interesting thing that, you know, this organization, you know, which in my opinion turned out to be more of a trade organization than really a medical association, which is what I thought they were initially. You know, they were really more about the bottom line for these veterinary clinics.
We're not talking about shifting national policy here, but we are talking about beginning a national debate, a national discussion about something that is very important.
All those in favor? Aye.
No one said no.
It's great to be the first city in the country to pass an ordinance like this. Hopefully the notion will spread to other cities, and cats are no longer treated as property or chattel, but as part of the family, that we attempt to do things which are not going to be cruel to any of our pets. Congratulations, Dr. Conrad.
West Hollywood is now the first city in the state to outlaw the declaw of cats. The city council approved the ban last night. It will impact 3 veterinary clinics in the small town. The declawing ban takes effect in 30 days, much to the chagrin of Mark
So what, there'll
Christie.
be a rush of people to declaw their cats before the 30 days?
That's what I was thinking. That's the unfortunate thing. Everybody's going to be going in there. Don't do it.
Look at her eating
Yeah.
her little kibble.
Yeah, it's very cruel to the animals. Shouldn't declaw animals.
When we won in West Hollywood, we got tremendous media attention. The BBC, New York Times, and I got calls for interviews from all over the world.
This made the wire services, this made print media, this made television, radio. It was in, we translated articles from Italy, Germany, Austria that carried this news story. A lot of people were educated on it.
The international media attention that these got is something that I have not seen in any other topic that we have engaged on. And I guess it makes sense because so many industrialized nations have banned these procedures and other non-therapeutic procedures. And yet the United States, we are still so far behind on that.
Australians have never been into declawing of cats. And most American vets would agree that it is the potential to be an extremely painful procedure. It's done solely for the benefit of the person.
I cannot imagine. If it come to me, I cannot do it.
There are many alternatives that are absolutely humane. One is you can trim the cat's nails.
You take their paw and you press down on their little pad so that the nail appears. And then you just take your clippers, hold.
You can put soft paws on the cat, which are these vinyl sheaths that fit over the nail.
You just put these nail tips on the cats. They're very easy to put on. If you can't do it, you can have a groomer do it or your vet do it. And for the next 6 weeks, your cat is not going to be able to do damage at all.
In Denmark, it's illegal to declaw cats because it will affect both their lifestyle and it's not a proper way to have an animal.
Welcome to my Scratch Playland here. These are all things that you need to have in the house. I'm not saying to choose one. I'm saying to let your cat choose one. I've worked with thousands and thousands of cats, one-on-one, over the course of many years. When I meet a cat, when I go into your home and I meet a cat, and that cat's declawed, I know immediately. There's an emotional deficiency. There's something different about them. They're not as apt to play. They're just not as much a cat.
Declawing was a very common practice. We did it in all the hospitals I worked for. And sure enough, you saw the pain effect. You saw the bandaging for 2 days. You saw the pets frantically shaking their paws, hobbling around.
In Germany, it's not allowed to do this. And I'm quite proud of these animal laws. Despite the hundreds of wars we had in history, and sometimes some people need a bit more time to learn.
The city of West Hollywood passed an ordinance preventing cats from being declawed, and this was the first in all of North America. This was great news for the cats, but what was bad news for the cats is the CVMA, the California Veterinary Medical Association, decided to sue the city over this ordinance.
We're asking the Los Angeles County Superior Court to find the West Hollywood City Council's ban invalid and unenforceable.
I have filed a lawsuit in the Los Angeles County Superior Court, Santa Monica Division, against the city of West Hollywood. It seeks declaratory relief and injunctive relief with respect to the currently existing anti-declaw ordinance.
We have been forced to take legal action because the West Hollywood City Council does not want veterinarians or animal owners to have the freedom to choose the treatments that are in the best interests of their pets. We are asking the Los Angeles County Superior Court to find the West Hollywood City Council's ban invalid and unenforceable.
The city will try to frame this issue as being about animal rights, or about, or this lawsuit as being about somehow sanctifying animal cruelty.
It's our position in the lawsuit that, in fact, they are not allowed to do that because the Veterinary Medicine Practice Act specifically says that a veterinarian is acting outside the scope of a veterinary license if he or she performs an inhumane procedure.
At the trial court level, we did lose, but thank goodness for my colleagues in the city council, we decided to go up the next step, went up to the appellate court, where then the decision was reversed and we prevailed. And then that got appealed to the California Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court decided that yes, West Hollywood could ban declawing and call it animal cruelty.
Making our ordinance the first of its kind here in the state of California and a model for other cities around Southern and Northern California to follow in banning animal cruelty.
The AVMA and the big groups will get more caught up in what's best financially for the veterinarians than what's best ethically.
The CVMA was unhappy with the Supreme Court decision, so they went to the state legislature where they have much more influence, and they proposed a law, Senate Bill SB 762, that would actually ban cities from banning declawing.
We think the Department of Consumer Affairs in their amicus brief probably said it best, that the ordinance that we're talking about will become precedent for a multitude of local governments.
So the CVMA is trying to make a law at the state level that would make it so that no other city, except for West Hollywood, could ban declawing. SB 762 passed, but there's a huge loophole that they didn't realize. Any city that banned a medical procedure before January 1st, 2010 gets to keep that ban. It makes me wonder if I can't get other cities to ban declawing before the end of the year. West Hollywood's ordinance has already been tried in the courts, so it's pretty much bulletproof. So if other cities stick to it, they can't get sued.
What are you waiting for? Come on, move!
I know I can't do this alone, so I have to call in as many troops as possible, and I have to have them call in all of their friends.
How are you going to beat the CVMA? Yes, they're huge and they have a lot of financial resources, but we had a lot of very dedicated people willing to work without being paid just to see the right thing be done.
Legislation is education. Even if we get shot down, it'll be in the news. You just try again, ultimately you'll prevail.
They're going to vote on Friday.
A lot of the people really don't know what declawing is. And this is a look twice poster. You look at once and go, and then you see the hand and then you go, So a lot of people really don't know it's mutilation. This whole thing is a chance to educate people about animal cruelty.
Tonight, can you write out and say, look at it now? No, that's for the kid.
I haven't been home more than a couple days in the last 3 weeks, except that I'm doing whatever it takes to save the kitties.
There are some cities that are responding, and they're big cities, like Los Angeles. This needs to move beyond inhumane practices and protect our patients. And San Francisco.
Madam Clerk, could you call item 18?
Item 18 is the ordinance amending the health code to prohibit the declawing of cats.
And Berkeley. And here we are in Berkeley, that's where I went to undergrad. And Santa Monica, and even Beverly Hills. These cities are putting it on their agendas, and they're willing to discuss it.
I just assumed that declawing was trimming the nails of a cat. I didn't know that it was something completely different.
What efforts, since you are the liaison to this area through the CVMA, were conducted to consult with our city government on SB 762?
Well, we had no effort that I'm aware of. The thing about it is that 762 is a state organization, a state bill. And so we sponsored that as a state bill. We don't know what each individual city is going to want to do.
You did know our motivation, or else you wouldn't have then pursued 762.
What was the CVMA's role in Senate Bill 762?
We were a sponsor of that bill.
Did you employ a lobbyist in Sacramento to accomplish that?
No.
We did not employ a lobbyist to pass this particular bill.
So what did you spend to get this bill passed?
Our association, as with many professional associations, does have a PAC, a political action committee, that members voluntarily contribute to.
But you didn't have a lobbyist, so does your PAC make, suggest, or bundle donations to California lawmakers?
Our political action committee is spent on fundraisers. You know, different state officials will have all these different things.
We in Santa Monica have had to become used to dealing with emergencies that are imposed upon us by people in Sacramento, and that's what this is.
Sacramento passed a law that will prohibit cities
from being able to pass bans. So starting January 1st, cities throughout the state of California, unless they've already previously passed a ban, cannot pass a ban.
So now there's a great scramble of cities throughout California who are responding to the fact that they believe that there should be Declaw ban.
You're trying to protect as many animals as possible from being subjected to this process.
I ask that all of my colleagues join me in ending this cruel practice and ban declawing.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Conrad. I'm a veterinarian, and I'm calling to support. Now that the CVMA has figured out that their law has totally backfired on them, they're fighting like crazy.
My name is Mark Nunez. I'm a veterinarian. I am also the president of the California Veterinary Medical Association, and we are opposed to a ban. Other organizations that are also opposed, the American Veterinary Medical Association, the Canadian VMA, the American Association of Feline Practitioners.
76% of cats are declawed before they're 8 months old. That is a kitten. That would be the equivalent of removing the teeth on a puppy because he's chewing slippers.
The number one reason people ask for cats to be declawed is destruction of household property.
The reason most of these declaws were done, 82% were for household destruction.
And what that tells me is that people are elevating the rights of their sofas and their chairs above the rights of their animals. And when I hear statistics like that, it becomes apparent to me that we do have to legislate this.
Our veterinarians do not take declawing. We take it very seriously.
I'm a cat behaviorist. My job is to deal with the fallout of this surgery.
He would lash out at me, hiss, and bite me.
She limps, and she sometimes refuses to use the litter box, and I think it's probably because her feet hurt so much.
His pads on his front feet, which were declawed, are completely shriveled and dried and sore. He can't be touched there. He's very irritable about his feet.
There are very simple solutions to prevent something this damaging. I've just seen way too many problems associated with it.
How much do you charge in your practice for a declaw?
I am not currently in practice. It's been about 9 years since I was in practice. One of the things that we're very careful about talking about in veterinary medicine is actual fees between veterinarians.
There's a fee for the declaw, there's a fee for pain management, there's a fee for anesthesia.
Well, the all-in price, what would the all-in price?
I doubt it exceeds $500.
$450 by the time all is said and done. Because it's work. It takes about half an hour and 45 minutes to declaw a cat. And that's just the front fee.
The strongest arguments against the ordinance is that would lead to increased relinquishment.
Taking away this option very likely dooms a cat to abandonment or being taken to a shelter where death is the likely outcome.
By an absolute ban, I think I'd be condemning animals to death, and therefore I can't do it.
It's not a matter of declaw or then death. It's a matter of declaw or alternatives to declawing.
What if somebody has a baby, a toddler, whatever, and you have a scratching cat? It becomes my baby or my cat.
Pediatricians and emergency medicine doctors say do not declaw the cat because a declawed cat is more likely to bite. So you are creating a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. It didn't answer my question.
In my opinion, from what I have seen, declawed cats are more likely to lose their homes. I've seen them in the shelters, I've rescued them, and they're losing their homes because of the behavior problems from being declawed.
As one of the nation's most humane cities, I hope to see San Francisco pass this ordinance.
I want my city to be fair, compassionate, and humane.
It is a humane movement, and Burbank is certainly a humane city.
We also know that that's a technique that's been used to torture human beings for a long time, and yet we've accepted that for our animal friends.
Very difficult decision we have before us tonight, and this requires a 4/5 vote to pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Reinke. Yes. Mr. Talamantes.
Yes.
Mr. Golonsky.
Yes.
Dr. Gordon.
Yes.
And Mr. Brake.
No. That motion passes 4-1. And thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
No. No. No.
Malibu City Council is just so stubborn. They don't want to listen to the data, and she wants to do her own research, which last time her own research was the AOL poll, as if that poll on AOL was worthy data.
Supervisor Campos.
Aye.
President Chu.
Aye.
Alioto Pierre, no. Supervisor Avalos.
Aye.
Supervisor Daly. Aye. Supervisor Dufty. Aye. Supervisor Mercarimi.
Aye.
Supervisor Ellsburn. Ellsburn, no. There are 9 ayes and 2 noes.
The ordinance is passed in the first reading.
9 to 2.
I just believe, having investigated, that cats have claws and it's cruel and unnecessary procedure to remove them.
Motion by Mouse and seconded by O'Leary. Please vote.
5 ayes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mirisch?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Brucker?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Delshad?
Yes.
Mayor Krasny?
Yes. Passed unanimous.
Councilmember Mayo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Arreguín?
Yes.
Capitelli?
Yes.
Wingraf?
Yes.
Worthington?
Yes.
Wozniak?
Yes.
Mayor Bates?
Yes. So passed unanimously?
Councilmember McCune?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Holbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom?
No.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that passed 6-1.
Claws stay on the paws.
The bottom line is you take the claws out of a cat, you take away the cat.
The fact of the matter is they're actually cutting into flesh and bone.
It really fits everything else we've tried to do on the City Council to combat animal cruelty.
The ordinance is now before the council.
Okay, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you very much.
All these cats are protected in all these cities, and that's an amazing thing.
It's huge. Winning LA, winning Santa Monica, winning Beverly Hills, winning San Francisco, winning Berkeley, and winning LA. That's just crazy talk. I would never have thought that we would have won LA like we did. But we did. I'm really happy about that.
I hope by us doing this, we will really begin to set a trend. Maybe it becomes a statewide initiative.
And I see this happening in Boston. I see this happening in New York, Connecticut, Florida. It's going to happen.
It is now codified. It is in the law that it is animal cruelty. That, to me, is a great stepping stone for the state and for other states and for eventually the entire nation and then Canada.
If it shows up in Colorado, I'll be in Colorado. If it shows up in Iowa, I'll be in Iowa.
It will be something that is no longer performed anywhere in this country. We're a far way off, but that day will come because we're not going to give up.
This is a big statement. This is a statement of policy change, and that is a great feeling. It's protecting kittens that aren't born yet. It's protecting cats that are just adopted today, and that's really cool. It's way more cats than I could ever have protected by just working in a veterinary hospital.